What am I doing? That's a good question, isn't it? I'm going to click on some things and hopefully that'll make a stream happen. Let's hope. This. Oh, I need to do a tweet, whatever they call it nowadays. Citizen. BoredGamer UK. Beautiful. Star Citizen, that's the one. That's the badger. Say hi and ask question. Oh, perfect. Easy game. Post that. Oh, that was probably posting. Let's reduce sound a little bit. Great soundtrack though. Oh, thanks to Pedro Camacho. What a ledge. There you go. Perfect. Ideal. Professional. That's what I am. Professional YouTuber. Or whatever I am. Content creator. I hate those terms. I mean, they are moderately descriptive of what I am. I'm just a guy. Hello. So you might have to deal with me being a little manic. I'm bipolar, and today is a manic day, as Zin had to deal with during the podcast. Yeah, I hope everyone is doing well. Feel free to ask any questions you want in the chat, question in brackets, and then ask away. Obviously, we've got stuff to talk about with Alpha 4.2.1 if you want to, with the resource drive, some cool stuff there. Also, juxtaposed with a lot of broken stuff. Probably one of the worst launches for a patch to date to live, just because, I say to date this year, not to date, but this year so far, just because so much was broken on launch. And they fixed a moderate amount of it. Yeah. And then obviously we've got 4.3, which is going to be going to Eva Carty is the plan later this week. Showdown starting tomorrow, but it's sort of like the make some noise social media phase of it, unless they're doing it differently at all. We're almost done with July, so we've got some interesting stuff coming August in general as well. Potentially a Kruger Intergalactic Light Fighter. I think we might see something vehicular and medical as well, but that's just a gut feeling. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. Yeah, I'm hoping that 4.3 goes a lot further in dealing with some of these major issues. Right, when I say major issues, I'm talking about freight elevators, mainly cargo freight elevators, but it's mostly freight elevators, right, that people are having problems with. I mean, I know there's a bit of exploiting, grabbing people's cargo as well at outposts and that sort of stuff. People going, oh, that's not a PvP event, but I am going to steal your stuff. Boop, 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 boop. Honestly, I've started thinking that much of the heartache through this development is that by we the backers under anticipating common development struggles. I mean, it's expectation versus reality, yeah? And there's a expectation of certain things working, and sometimes they're broken. And sometimes we expect certain things in Star Citizen to consistently be issues, like desync, and crashes and stability and stuff, and for those things to get hotfixed to a degree. But it's when something as part of a major event is broken, and you just can't get the missions. So initially you couldn't play the resource drive event for the first few hours because the missions didn't populate, or they only populated one mission. And then everyone was funneled into one area, so there wasn't enough missions, and the player density was really high, which wasn't intended. So, get these problems, and then for a good amount of the launch, when the most hype is for playing the game, it's broken. That's disheartening, right? And it's when it's for issues you're not expecting or anticipating, as well. You're like, okay, well, why is this like this? Why wasn't this discovered during the PTU phase? Is this a side effect of the monthly patch cadence that some stuff just doesn't feel tested enough before it's released? Or you've missed something that's glaring, which is, well, these elevators, freight elevators, don't work very well, and they're very easy to break. So putting something on top of a freight elevator breaks it. Having more than one layer of cargo on a freight elevator often breaks it. Things like that. And some people are sort of like your scoff at year of playability, year of sort of getting the game as playable as possible, and year of content. They are pushing content. They're still going to hit some issues, and hopefully once they recognize that some things like freight elevators and still some server meshing issues are pretty major, they'll be able to address those more thoroughly. So, look, for example, if the freight elevators weren't a problem, if they were working perfectly, and you had the missions populating properly, what's the thing that you'd want fixed next? Probably more general stability and NPCs being better, like more consistently spawning, leaving elevators and stuff. Once you've fixed those things, then it's a lot of just balance problems, right? Or am I crazy? I know that's a really sweeping. He's like, well, these three problems and the game's great. Obviously, there's loads of little bugs and everything as well, and just fixing those things is might populate with more bugs or similar bugs anyway. But do you see what I mean, right? Like, and also mitigating slightly CIG's culpability. I mean, it's all their fault, but with the initial release of 4.2.1, there wasn't this sort of problem. There wasn't as much of the problem in the PTU builds. As I said, the missions populated fine. Freight elevators weren't great, but they were better than they were in live. At least I think they were. was talking to Zin about it today, and she's like, well, I can play the event still, because I very rarely, since freight elevators have existed in game, I haven't really interacted with them. Like, it's only really to bring up some items to put onto ships, and that's about it. Most of the time, when it's an interaction with a freight elevator, it will be me doing it, because we'll be in my hangar. So that's an interesting one. She'll do mostly combat, right, rather than cargo. I thought that was just an interesting one. Hopefully 4.3 will be significantly more fixed. And they're deploying more hotfixes for 4.2.1. I feel like I'm running defense for CIG now, and I don't I know a lot of people say we always do, but I genuinely don't normally. Like, I'll talk about Star Citizen, and I'm hyped about Star Citizen, and I understand that there's going to be bugs. But for this time around, it's significantly harder to defend from a point of view of, I think it's reasonable. Like, this time, I think they should have fixed or got freight elevators into a better state before launching an event that uses them so much. That is the way I feel about it, but I still trust CIG to make a great game. They can't have these problems happening when 1.0 comes out, because that will damage the... When 1.0 comes out, you need to know that you can't lose your stuff due to a bug or instability, or a mission won't just go, nope, you can't progress because horrible bug. Yeah? There can't be these glaring bugs and problems. Because there's a huge amount of progression at risk there. There will be a load of hours, weeks, months of progression potentially lost. You lose a whole pile of cargo due to some bug, or because the freight elevator won't take it. Do not let perfect be the enemy of good. I mean, I liked that term, but I'm not sure what it's actually referencing. What we got? Question rise. Gamescom is soon. I'm not planning to go to Gamescom this year. I'm sort of busy. It's my one of my best mates' birthdays. The Poets, I hope you're doing well, sir. Good job with your the Barcelona and stuff you've been doing, and the big community events. Good job. Good hosting. Because advertises the replayability this year, and stability can refer to more stable FPS, which we have, etc., rather than just fixing bugs and features. Yeah, I mean, the idea is by the end of the year, kind of with each patch is what I felt it was going to be, and it kind of should. The game will getting better and better and better and more playable, right? It's just with this event, some glaring problems. Yes, I did have a great weekend. I played lots of board games, which is my preferred medium of chilling out. We played... What did we play? Matches of Madness, which I very much like. Call of Cthulhu-esque. It's Call of Cthulhu. It's in the universe. What else? Marvel Zombies. I watched the Fantastic Four movie, which is alright. It's alright. Like the way they did Galactus. Looking forward to... the Doctor Doom stuff they're going to be doing in the future. Well, I did do the Manders of the Bug event and got my IC Microtech skin for my Taurus, and then gave up on the event. Okay, yeah, you got what you want out of the event. Hopefully, it will be in a much better place. I like the fact that, well, I think it's interesting that some people are saying stop the event, end it early. Other people going extend the event and fix it. And I'm the opinion of whatever. Just feel free to pause the event and then extend it later, push it to later, or whatever, or just fix it and extend it, something like that. Gonna make a guess board. When did you say the game will come out of beta? So we're in alpha at the moment, and I would consider that when they have effectively the PTU phase for 1.0, yeah. probably an extended PTU phase. That is what I would consider beta. I'll be talking about it in a video in the future, but basically you want Star Citizen to effectively be feature complete for them to run a beta, and you won't have feature complete until they're close to 1.0. What they're trying to do is get Star Citizen out of this sort of, make it feel less alpha and more early access. That's the Star Citizen is still better than the COD. I mean, they're very different games, right? If you want that sort of COD experience, then COD is a better place for it, although I'm not a fan of it being recycled every year just for money. I'll probably be trying out Battlefield 6. I want a... So, if they had, in Star Citizen, working theatres of war, in that sort of environment, a sort of Marine Commander environment, jump in, play, kind of more arcadey, easier to get into, get out of, just bam, 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 bam. Cool. I'd probably be playing that at the moment. I need a Battlefield experience in my life, and I hope Battlefield 6 is going to be good for that. Not sure if it will or not. Oh, there's people are asking me. I don't know why. There's links down below for like NordVPN if you want it. We advertise it on the channel. I use it. You might want to too for reasons. When do I think 1.0 is going to be coming? 2027 would be my current gut feel, end of 2027. But I might be hugely out with that. Some people don't think it's until it's going to be like to 2029, that sort of stuff. So I don't get why freight elevators are a thing in game. Like, I know the game is supposed to be a sim, but in real life, do you see truckers loading behind the train? So freight elevators could be done a lot differently, right? You could just do closed door, despawn, respawn. That's it. You have to have them going up and down. Star Citizen wants to physicalize a load of this stuff and make it look really cool and be really cool and have this cool sort of like, oh, well, this is impressive. Like, technically, I'm happy elevators teleporting me. I'm happy stuff like that. Just being your ship's just spawns. I'm happy with that. I know people want elevators and stuff like that because they want it to feel more simmy, whatever. I'm okay with it being more gamified to get the experience I want, because there's nothing more jarring from your sim experience than a bug that takes you out of it, right? Minimize that, make it more gamified. I think it'll be more fun. That's my general feel for stuff. Get all this stuff into as sim nature as you can, or as realistic as you can, without damaging that gameplay and the ability to play. I suppose is what I'm saying. My mind jumps around with stuff like this, though. I change my mind quite often. They fixed the station elevators so they could only accept one layer of boxes, which was working fine. So, yeah, as far as I'm aware, one layer of cargo works with freight elevators at the moment. They are less likely to break as well for freight elevators, although they still do break. They've hotfixed a lot of the stuff, a bit. I don't mind the physicalized cargo. What I mind is they make you load them out in the open ground around stations. So, yeah, the outpost stuff is a little annoying because it's so easily sort of exploitable, trollable, right? Someone can crash into you, someone can just nick your cargo off, and you can't really do anything about it because it's not illegal what they're doing. They can break the freight elevators, things like that. Content is pointless when it doesn't work. I mean, yeah, but them building towards that, identifying the problems that they're having with that, and then fixing them's fine, right? I think if we had a bad 4.2.1, and then they, in 4.3 or 4.3.1, they go, if we fixed freight elevators, we won't have those problems again. I think as long as there's lessons learned, genuinely, and they are building towards a better game, cool. And it's not like we have to wait months for that either. I mean, they're hotfixing immediately to try and solve some of this stuff, and there are monthly patches. And it might just be one of the side effects of monthly patches that sometimes there are these glaring oversights. So maybe there needs to be a middle ground with some of this stuff. I mean, Avocado for 4.3 is coming already, and I wouldn't suspect a 4.3 release until the end of the month, but again, we'll have to wait and see. They made these awesome distribution centers and never used them. Yeah, I agree. They should have had a lot of the stuff at distribution centers. Totally agree. Why didn't they? I said it won't be perfect and it will be broken, but no more info on hotfix since the 23rd. Isn't that just like from Thursday? Oh no, that was Wednesday. Okay. Hopefully there'll be some more hotfixes dropped tomorrow. They have zero excuses at this amount of time and money. They 100% have excuses for this amount of time and money. They're still in alpha. They're building towards 1.0. When they get to 1.0, they don't have any excuses. They still have excuses now, and their excuses are: game is alpha. We're expecting this. You need to expect there are going to be these problems again and again and again, potentially with the patches until we get close to 1.0, and then they won't have excuses for that sort of stuff. Like, it won't be acceptable. I mean, it's not highly acceptable now, and you can call it out. I mean, you can call it out and you can call it concerning or whatever, but I don't think people go, well, they've had so much money. The game's not even nearly complete yet. There's going to be a lot more money. This year, for example, I suspect will be the biggest funding year for Star Citizen yet. I'm expecting them to get over 125 million this year, maybe over 130 million. Like, genuinely, I think they're at the same level as when they started November last year, already this year. So they're about 3 months ahead of where they were funding wise. And I think that Intergalactic Aerospace Expo is going to be highly profitable for them, probably their biggest event ever. And you might be like, well, that's just people buying stuff and marketing gone mad and whatever. That doesn't make a good game. You're right, that's just the funding for it. But they are trying to make the game significantly more playable. It is the year of content. CIG's words, not mine. Well, mine as well. And sometimes those 4.2.1 is not defensible as a thing. I can't go around and say, oh, well, they'll make it right next time. I think they will learn from it. It boggles my mind that they've released an event with one of the buggiest sort of systems in game that's essential for most of it. Freight elevators, and I'm sorry if people are sick about hearing about freight elevators being broken. It just boggles my mind that they were quite so broken still. And had new problems that I'd never seen with this event. So I'm very juxtaposed on my opinions on this. I think you should be critical and of CIG, but also be concise and not necessarily forgiving, but know that they're probably going to address most of this stuff as soon as they can. Or as soon as it's sensible. Like, genuinely, I trust them to make the game. Do I trust them to make a good patch every month? I expect them to progress towards a 1.0 every month, and sometimes they miss the mark with development progress versus sort of like playability. And they're trying to do the more playable thing this year, but sometimes it misses the mark, right? I think CIG's biggest mistake is no alternative routes outside of the elevators. So there are obviously other missions you can do, but they're not hugely populous. And I think like there were problems with sharing because, for example, there are dependent escort missions for the event, right? And they weren't sharing properly. So even if you did complete them, you'd only get like a fraction of the cargo contribution that you were supposed to. And And they were quite hard to do without the ship blowing up anyway, defending them, because you'd had to turn up and take out all the pirates that are attacking these ships. So there are other avenues. There's just not very many. So, yeah, it's a little annoying, right? It's a little annoying. But yeah, I agree that if there were more avenues, they could sort of go, cool. Yeah, freight elevators aren't working great, but there's these other ways of participating in the event, and you can still participate in the event. And freight elevators do work sometimes. They're finicky and it's annoying. They got rid of wobble. What else have we got here? Worst part is when a free fly event comes, it's going to be even worse. I think as long as they've so having the missions populate, that's super important. And if they can get some hotfixes in for freight elevators so that they don't break, and hopefully you can have multiple layers of cargo actually be in a pretty good state. Honestly, I got to phase 3 on all planets, all corps before the hotfixes started. After that, I've not found a working elevator since. Okay. So yeah, some of this stuff might have actually been caused by some of the hotfixes, or at least exacerbated it, caused it in different areas, or it might have just been coincidence that you didn't get it before. Because the event is so broken, can we ask CIG to give everyone who logs in all the rewards? I mean, you can ask them. I would suggest to them that they basically extend the event. Or pause and extend it, or just extend it and try and fix it. Yeah, I'm hoping... so I'm hoping Battlefield 6 is going to be good. You know, there's loads of quality of life and little fixes they could have put in for the event as well. Lots of people are identifying them in chat. So Ryan, you think 2028 for Star Citizen 1.0? Okay. I think that's fair. I mean, it's in the range of 2027 to 2029, right? Perpetually 2 years away, even in 2 years. Yeah, so Squadron 42 is planned for 2026, and CIG's messaging on that has been consistent. I am expecting they want to have a game that is not frustrating to play and super broken for when Squadron 42 launches, so that they can go, Squadron 42, look how amazing it is. Hopefully it is amazing. Look how amazing it is. Star Citizen's playable now and functional. It's only going to get better. Yeah, they're doing it wrong. The elevator should not be carrying the cargo. Yeah, I'm fine with them just having it as a spawn despawn thing. They want it for for Squadron 42 having it all beautiful and like, oh, it feels real. Great. But the persistent universe, they could obscure it a lot more. I know I'm literally talking about lobotomizing the game, but everyone's happier with a lobotomy. Hey Bored, Star Citizen will have a massive influx of players when Squadron's released. What's your minimum viable product CIG need to get Star Citizen in for Squadron 42 release? Cool. I mean, I sort of just mentioned some of it there. It needs to be significantly more playable. It doesn't need to have 1.0 ready, but they need to have it feeling like early access rather than alpha, right? Something starting to approach a beta. You want stability, little in the way of common bugs. prevent you from doing the gameplay you want to do with general traversal, spawning, despawning ships, NPCs, cargo management. That the core systems need to sort of work. I mean, occasional bugs should be okay, but they should be recoverable from without losing huge amounts of progression. Yeah. I think that's sort of what we want. And you want to be able to, with each of these patches that they do, be able to gain stuff permanently on your account even after 1.0 releases, right? So you want stuff that is protected from resets to a degree, like they're doing with the armors and the tier rewards in the current event, and like they've done in the past for a variety of things. Didn't know I've recorded a podcast earlier. We talk a lot about 4.2.1, 4.3, the ship showdown, problems with the resource drive, lots and lots of stuff. You can see that a little bit later today, in a few hours. That's when it will be released. I'm a returning player to the game, and I initially gave up because I couldn't figure out how to progress. Is it a good time to come back now? Can I buy ships with in-game currency? Yes, you can get almost everything in-game with in-game currency, or earn it some other ways through doing like Wicklow missions. So Wicklow is a Anu in-game. He has 3 emporiums around the Stanton system where you can go and do missions for and favors with to get specialist ships in-game and some cool mechs and walkers and things like the ATLS ICT, which is a little mech for a combat mech rather than the normal ATLS, which is a tractor beam sort of mech. Is it a good time to come now? So there are lots of problems with 4.2.1. They are addressing all of them. 4.3 might be better later in August. I would suggest turning up later in August with 4.3 if you're coming back to the game, if you want a less frustrating experience. At the moment, CIG are trying to address these issues with this new event, which has caused lots of problems. And they are addressing them. They're hotfixing them. It's a lot less problematic than it was previously. Still a lot of broken stuff. If you avoided the event, you'd probably be alright. And if you were a returning player, there's a huge amount of cool stuff to do, including giant sandworms in the Stormbreaker stuff, Pyro 1. You can see some of the little sandworms there on screen. But there's also a line of mine, big lasers. Do that here as well. You can go and do mining stuff. There's cool activities to do in game, and a lot of cool stuff to find. But if you want to get in and join in with all the new stuff, and freight elevators being working, because cargo's a big thing, and freight elevators are a bit broken at the moment, then 4.3 might be better. Hey, Bored Star Citizen will have a massive influx of play. That's what we talked about a minute ago. And alternative routes, talked about that. How much cooler is the game with a flight stick? So, depends on what ship you're flying, and it depends on how much time you want to spend setting up your flight stick and what sticks you set up. So, you could have HOTAS or dual stick. Dual stick seems to be, from what I can tell, what people recommend for the sort of high skill ceiling. HOTAS for me feels the most simmy, but it's a Star Citizen is an FPS game where you're the pilot. When you're in your ship, you're not your ship, you're the pilot of that ship. So you will need access to a mouse and keyboard, or I suppose gamepad, if you're a monster, as well when you're jumping in and out of your ship. But if you don't mind setting up your stick, your HOTAS, your dual stick setup, or whatever, then you can have a really great experience with sticks, HOTAS, or whatever other mediums you want to use. There's Tobii eye trackers, there's Game Glass for diegetic displays that you use tablets for. There's Voice Attack, there's loads of cool stuff. There's Virtual Stream Deck you can use as well. Only authority to be one person per server can accept a quest. So that's been mostly fixed, right? The missions propagate and populate properly. I didn't seem to have. I didn't try every mission, admittedly. I've been pretty busy over the last week, so. Do you think Squadron 42 is having higher than expected issues? I think it's having just as. I think it's having the amount of expected issues they expected. So the problem is they are trying to make Squadron 42 this epic cinematic experience. And I expect that that is just causing a lot of time to make it Chris Roberts' magnum opus. Like they want it to be a 9.5 out of 10. They want it to be as close to a 10 out of 10 game as can be from the genre. Takes time. Takes a lot more time than they expected. Not sure if that's necessarily an issue. Well, it's an issue for us, but like. Someone wants into the stability. There was no better than the start of the year. If it was loads better than the start of the year, freight elevators are broken with this patch, and this event isn't great. They've made huge leaps and bounds, and there's a load more content in game. You remember at the beginning of the year, we were still in 3 point whatever. We're in the 4.0 preview build because there were problems with it still. But it's come a long way. It is significantly better, the patch. However, this event, and that's one of the things with 4.2.1, it is the sort of, it's jarring because it was unexpected. It would be quite so broken. And we're able to log into the game, right? We're able to traverse properly. It's mostly freight elevator problems, mostly. Yeah, everyone will have their preferred medium for whether they prefer keyboard and mouse or gamepad or dual stick or HOTAS or whatever, right? It does come down to personal preference. But if you are going to buy a stick or any of those systems, spend some time and continuously update them. Spend some time setting them up and then continue to update them. But you get the most out of them that way. And if you can go to like a Bar Citizen or something, or an expo where you know the manufacturer of sticks are, you might be able to play around with one. They're quite an investment, right? Some people will have that money, bam, to chuck in. Some people will go, oh, I don't like these sticks and send them back. But because they're an expensive purchase, I always say try stuff like that out where you can. I'm not having crashy. I have had a crash in 4.2.1, but I haven't had constant crashes or anything. So they spent over 3 hours waiting for server error. It took place at Crusader. It was in a raft. Elevator had a full load. Hangar gave up. Okay, so yeah, that's soul destroying. I've been playing a game called He's Coming, and it is a little pixel 8-bit game where you walk around a map and you pick up equipment, and then every so often a boss comes and fights you. Okay, and every boss you fight, you have more inventory space. Cool, loads of unlocks. Silly little game. There's also a asynchronous PvP mode where you fight against other players' builds that also are playing the PvP player, and it sort of saves their state at that stage in the game, and then you sort of fight it. And then the current champion is displayed, and you can go and fight them. So I'm pretty competitive in it. I've won a few times. I've got quite a few crowns. There's a couple of videos about my builds online that other people have gone, oh, this guy's builds really kind of BS or whatever. I was like, yes, I've made a really cool build. I had a near perfect build to what I wanted on the weekend, and must have spent like playing for about 12 hours to try and get this build right. Got it. Alt tabbed. Was reading an email. Clicked back in, and it sold my main weapon and bought something that was on screen, totally breaking my build. I just wasted, just done. That was the most soul destroying thing. I can't remember what my point was, but this thing has. I'm still so pained by it. I can't let it go. I was talking to you about the podcast. I can't let it go. No, I can't. I can't let it go. Oh, but yes, no. So totally understand that like loss of progression, and it just feels like this is so frustrating. This is so soul destroying. I understand those soul destroying moments, and you have them often in Star Citizen, and it's with a lot of money sort of behind it as well. So I have a load of love for Star Citizen. I genuinely believe they're going to make a great game eventually, and I really enjoy playing Star Citizen now, and I think a lot of the stuff they do is beautiful and fun. I enjoyed the event for 4.2.1 more in the PCU than I do currently. A lot of people are absolutely loving the raft right at the moment. I haven't brought up all my chats. Apologies. What else have we got? Hello. Thank you very much for all the kind words. Genuinely appreciated. Would it be realistic to ask CIG to allow us to use Arena Commander as private playgrounds, letting us spawn gear, vehicles, run events, and things in there? So I'm hoping maybe something like that happens in the future. A more moddable experience with Star Citizen, even if it's just an Arena Commander, would be pretty cool. They did originally promise private servers and modding. Obviously, the game has changed hugely since the 2013. I mean, some people say it started in 2011, right? The waiting line to retrieve cargo, like that, yeah. So there are other cargo things to do. So like recovering the cargo and stuff like that. But the bottleneck for me is mostly freight elevator stuff, right? The lobotomy is healthy sometimes. I hope everyone's doing well. Thank you very much for joining me today of chatting about Star Citizen. I'm going to be upping it. So I need to bio real quick. I've got a really bad back. I think my bad back might just be the norm now in my life. Apologies. Hello. How's everyone doing? Hope you're all okay. So yeah, obviously there's some cool bits of 4.2.1. And it's not all bad. It's just the the event was mostly broken on release. It's slightly less broken now. Moderately less broken now. Obviously, I'm very pro Thrustmaster at the moment. That's what I'm using. I've done some work with them. Hello, hello. Right, Raziel, mate. I always put my dingling away. What else? Beta when though, as I said, once 1.0 is in PTU, that's when you can consider it a beta, I suppose. But they want to get Star Citizen out of the alpha feeling this year and something more akin to early access. Well, for the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo, I'm expecting the Perseus and the Apollo, if not before. I mean, you could see things like the Javelin, right? There'll be a load of new ships and vehicles as well. What else have we got? Other bits and bobs. Yeah, so the plan is still for Squadron 42 to release next year. We should learn a lot more at this year's CitizenCon, which I mean isn't too far away, right? Less than 3 months away. I suppose CIG are kind of gearing up for that. What do you do for your back pain? Stretches and exercises? I try not to take anything for it. So the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo has the best sort of expo, right? Because you can try huge amounts of ships. Interestingly, for Fleet Week, they had just a single hauler rate and then just changed the ships in the little kiosks, which would be okay. I like the changing ships. Well, the difference, Jay Bird, between those two is that CIG and we want the second, but we should always expect the first. So the Idris, I believe, should be eligible to be in the ship showdown. Should be eligible, right? They'll probably make it go against the Polaris immediately in the first round. They'll have a capital ship branch, maybe. Or maybe the 890 jump or something like that. Yeah, you can expect more 4.2.1 hotfixes this week, most likely. 4.3 Evacardi this week. I'm hoping that the underground facility stuff, those cooperative zones, are moderately enforced cooperative zones. Otherwise, they're just contested zones by a different name, right? The Idris is huge. The Idris is a capital ship. It is a frigate. It is massive. Oh, I like the raft. I don't mind ships being ugly. You got to remember, with all those ships and stuff, you will be able to get them in game, right? With the Idris, you will be able to get it in game, with in game credits. I am a fan of the Raft, especially with its changes. Those updates they made to the Raft are fantastic. Basically making it an upside down flatbed truck. They did the F8C last time. So you can expect from the ship showdown that the top 8 ships, so it will be make some sound on social media, top 16 ships from that get put into the 1v1 battles into different categories. And then the top 8 typically become part of a free fly. So a lot of people might want Beatrice to get into at least the top 8. And then the top 4 get skins made for them at the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo Best in Show. They basically get given free to owners of those ships. So I suspect people will highly want the Raft to be there. Some ships that are populous that people actually have. But there will be things like the Beatrice might come in the top 4. That'd be great. I love the F8. Mercury Star Runner, though, is my boy. That's a good point. Ships that are sort of fighter-sized, smaller ships, you'll be able to buy relatively easily in-game. Capital ones that are going to be super expensive. I mean, the military fighters are going to be pretty expensive, but they're not. They're still not a capital ship, right? It's supposed to be an org buying them together. That's like an interest, right? Over a period of time. And they'll probably be expensive to run. Well, there's Ladders 2.0 in 4.3, right? They tested them in 4.2.1 in the PTU. They seem to work okay. They're significantly better than we've got ladders at the moment. So you actually have to hit them at the right angle, and you don't get sucked onto them. You can move on them. You can look around much better. Jump off them kind of when you want. Much better. Much better. I think you can get off them into crouch as well. You could get into like a Jeffrey's tube or something, right? Much more impressed with that. You want to see fireman's poles? Oh, that's kind of a good idea for certain ships, right? For like drop ships or whatever. That you can have the boys up top getting arms and then fire pole down. I kind of like that idea. MSR needs a speed buff, so all ships need rebalancing, right? Especially when we get engineering. When's engineering coming? So hopefully soon they'll put that on the preview build. Maybe during 4.3. I thought we were going to have engineering being tested by now. Apologies for people that believed my expectations there. I don't know who's going to win the ship showdown this time. I think the Raft will come pretty high, though. I think a lot of people like the Raft. I think the Terrapin Medic's probably pretty popular. People love the Idris, and it was a surprise launch. I mean, the ATLS. Interested to know what other people's favourites are? Right. I am going to dash off to get a snack and to get the podcast out. I've got to plan some videos throughout this week. Yes, that's what I'm going to do. Who else is streaming? Let's see who else is around and streaming. I'm going to send you over my beautiful boy, Super Mac brother. Right. I'm going to send you over there. I hope to get some gameplay out of 4.2.1 this week as well. So, I are planning to play it. We were hoping the playability of that event was going to be in a good state that's not frustrating. So, waiting for a hot fix to solve that. Yeah, hopefully you'll have a great time. Hopefully they'll hotfix that, and hopefully 4.3 will be even better. Thanks very much for supporting the channel, genuinely appreciated. Everyone that's here, ask questions or whatever, feel free to watch the channel. We've got loads of stuff on Star Citizen. We do videos on everything. We're getting a summary up of like more of the Quantum Vegas stuff. Hope you guys are okay. Have a great day. Have a great weekend or week. Whatever. Is it Monday? It's Monday. Love. Bye.